I was sitting in a barbershop on Main Street, waiting for my usual trim, when a man I'd never seen before sat down next to me and slid a brown leather wallet across the armrest. He leaned in close and whispered, "There's a note inside. Mr. Dawson, read it when you're alone. Your wife didn't die the way they told you." Then he stood up, walked out the door, and disappeared into the Saturday morning crowd. I sat there frozen, the wallet burning against my leg where I'd shoved it into my coat pocket. My wife Ellen had been dead for 14 months. Heart attack, they said. Found her on the kitchen floor of our farmhouse. She was 61 years old and had never had a heart problem in her life. I'm thankful you're here with me today. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Drop a comment below. I'd love to know who's listening to this old man's story. 14 months after my wife's funeral, I sat in that barbershop in Ridgewood, Virginia, a small town where everybody knows everybody and nothing stays secret for long. Except, apparently, the truth about how Ellen died. My son Derek walked in right on time, 35 years old, clean-shaven, wearing one of those slim-fit suits that cost more than my first truck. His wife Vanessa was outside in their white Range Rover, engine still running, tapping at her phone. "Hey, Dad." Derek squeezed my shoulder. "You look tired. You sleeping okay out there by yourself? I sleep fine. Do you?" Though he sat down across from me. "Because Vanessa and I have been talking. And we're concerned. That house is too big for one person. 30 acres. 2 barns. The pond. Winter's going to be brutal this year. It's been brutal every year for 42 of them. Your mother and I handled it just fine." Derek's face tightened at the mention of Ellen. Just for a second. Then that smooth expression came back. The one he'd perfected sometime around law school. "That's exactly the point. Dad, Mom's not here anymore. And you're 63. What if something happens and nobody's around, then something happens?" He pulled out his phone and showed me a listing. A retirement community outside of Richmond. Modern amenities. A pool I'd never use and a dining hall that served dinner at 4:30 like we were all already half dead. Vanessa found this place. 2-bedroom units. You'd be 15 minutes from us. And the house, Dad. We got an offer. Hartfield Development Group. 1.8 million? I stared at him. "You got an offer. On my house." I made some calls. Just exploring options. "For you." He leaned forward. "Mom would have wanted you safe." There it was. The knife he always knew exactly where to place. "I'll think about it." I said, "I didn't mean it." Derek smiled with relief. "That's all I'm asking." He glanced outside at Vanessa. "We should get going." "Dinner at the Prescotts tonight." He squeezed my shoulder again. "Love you." "Dad, love you too." I watched them pull away. Vanessa's blonde hair catching the sunlight through the windshield. They didn't wave. Their heads were bent together. Talking. About me. About the house. About whatever. They weren't saying out loud. I waited until the Range Rover turned the corner. Then I reached into my coat and pulled out the wallet. It was old. Brown leather. Cracked along the spine. Not mine. Not anyone's I recognized. I flipped it open. Inside, tucked behind a faded receipt, was a folded note. Handwritten. Blue ink. Neat block letters. "Your wife didn't have a heart attack. The coroner's report was altered. Someone paid him. Look in the crawl space under your kitchen. Behind the far wall. Ellen left something for you. Trust no one in Ridgewood, especially not the people closest to you. No signature. No name. Nothing else in the wallet. No ID. No cards. No money." My hands were shaking. I read it again. Slower this time. Then I folded it, slid it back into the wallet, and drove home. The 30-minute drive felt like 3 hours. The road wound through hills covered in brown and gold. The last breath of autumn before winter killed everything. Ellen had loved this drive. She used to roll the window down even in October, breathing in the cold air, laughing when I told her she'd catch pneumonia. You can't catch pneumonia from fresh air. Walter. That's an old wives' tale. She was a nurse for 31 years. She knew things I didn't. The farmhouse stood at the end of a gravel road, white with green shutters. A wraparound porch that Ellen and I had rebuilt the summer. Derek graduated high school. 2 stories. The garden out back where she grew tomatoes and sunflowers. The pond where we used to sit on summer evenings, not talking, just being together. He parked, sat in the truck for a long time. Then I went inside and stood in the kitchen, staring at the floor where they'd found her. The crawl space access was in the pantry. A small door, 3 feet tall, painted the same white as the walls. I hadn't opened it in years. Ellen stored old canning jars down there. Christmas decorations. Things we didn't need but couldn't throw away. I got a flashlight and crawled in. It took me 20 minutes of moving boxes and plastic bins, scraping my knees on concrete, breathing dust that hadn't been disturbed in over a year. But behind the far wall, just like the note said, I found it. A metal lockbox. Gray. The kind you buy at a hardware store for $50. It had a combination lock. I tried Ellen's birthday. Nothing. Our anniversary. Nothing. Derek's birthday. And this 3. It opened. Inside was a USB drive. A small notebook with Ellen's handwriting. And a sealed envelope with my name on it. Walter. Written in her careful nurse's script. I carried everything upstairs to the kitchen table and sat down. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. I opened the notebook first. Ellen's handwriting filled page after page. Dates. Times. Observation. The entries started 18 months before she died. March 14. Saw Derek and Vanessa at the property again, late last night. 3rd time this month. They parked near the old tobacco barn. 2 other vehicles I didn't recognize. They unloaded boxes. Heavy. It took 4 men. April 2. Followed up on the license plates. One belongs to a company called Ridgepoint Holdings LLC. Registered in Delaware. No public officers listed. The other is a rental from Richmond. My ondokus. Derek asked Walter about selling the house again today. He's getting more aggressive. I think I know why. They need the property. Whatever they're storing in that barn, they need access without us here. June 8. Contacted FBI field office in Charlottesville. Spoke with Agent Raymond Holt. He wants to meet. The entries went on. Ellen had discovered that Derek and Vanessa were involved in something on our property. She'd spent months investigating, documenting, building a case. Alone. I read every page, my chest getting tighter with each one. August 22. Agent Holt confirmed. Ridgepoint Holdings is a front, connected to a fentanyl distribution network, operating out of Southwest Virginia. Derek owes money to very dangerous people. 0 inches gambling debts. They offered him a deal. Use our property as a storage point. The old tobacco barn has underground cellars from Prohibition, perfect for hiding product. September 5. I photographed the cellar contents last night. 17 cases. Holt says each one is worth approximately $400. 000 on the street. I wore gloves. Left no trace. September 30. Vanessa knows I've been watching. She looked at me differently at dinner tonight. Cold. Calculating. She whispered something to Derek and he went pale. The last entry was dated 2 days before Ellen died. October 15. Evidence package complete. USB drive contains everything. Photos. Recordings. Financial documents. Mailed backup copies to Agent Holt and to Bernard at the law firm in D.C. If something happens to me, the truth will come out. I'm scared, but I'm not stopping. This is our home, our family. I won't let them destroy both. I set the notebook down and pressed my palms flat against the table to stop the shaking. My wife hadn't had a heart attack. My wife had been murdered. And my son was involved. I sat at that table for 3 hours. The sun moved across the kitchen floor and disappeared. Darkness filled the windows. The house creaked the way old houses do. Settling. Breathing. Remembering. I didn't open the envelope yet. I couldn't. Not yet. Instead, I plugged the USB drive into Ellen's old laptop. It took a while to boot up. When it did, the drive contained over 200 files. Photographs of the barn cellar packed with sealed cases. Audio recordings. I clicked one. Derek's voice came through the speakers. Clear and unmistakable. The next shipment arrives Thursday. Tell Navarro's guys to use the back road. Dad goes to bed by 9. He won't hear anything. Another voice. Vanessa, what about your mother? She's been asking questions about the barn. Derek. After a pause. Mum's not a problem. I'll handle it. I closed the laptop. Went to the bathroom. Threw up. Came back. I sat in the dark for a long time. Then I opened the envelope. My dearest Walter, if you're reading this, then something has happened to me. And someone has led you to this box. That means the plan worked. Even if I didn't make it to see it through, I need you to know the truth. For 18 months, I've been working with the FBI to investigate criminal activity on our property. Our son Derek is involved. I know that's the hardest sentence you'll ever read. It was the hardest one I've ever written. Derek got into gambling 3 years ago. He owes terrible people $250,000. They gave him a choice. Use our land or lose his life. He chose our land. Vanessa knows everything. She's not a victim in this. She helped plan the logistics. I found out by accident. Late one night. I heard trucks. I went to look. What I saw in that barn changed everything. I couldn't tell you. Walter. Not because I don't trust you. Because I love you too much. These people are dangerous. If you knew, you'd confront Derek. You'd go to the local police. And I discovered that Chief Deputy Russell Mackey is on their payroll. Shimayan. 000 a month to look the other way. Going to him would have been a death sentence for both of us. So I went to the FBI instead. Agent Raymond Holt has been my handler. He's a good man. Trust him. Trust no one else in Ridgewood. The evidence on this drive is enough to bring down the entire operation. Derek will go to prison. I've accepted that. He made his choices. But I want you to know that I tried everything to get him to stop. He wouldn't listen. Please don't blame yourself. You couldn't have seen this. Derek hid it from both of us. He's not the boy we raised. Or maybe he is, and we just didn't see the cracks. I love you. Walter, I have loved you since I was 19 years old, and you asked me to dance at the Ridgewood 4th of July picnic and stepped on my feet 3 times and apologized. So many times I had to kiss you just to shut you up. Live your life. Take care of the garden. Feed the birds at the pond the way I used to. And when you stand on the porch at sunset, I know that I'm right there beside you. All my love. Forever. Ellen. I don't know how long I cried. Long enough for the kitchen to go completely dark. Long enough for the coffee I'd made to go cold. Then colder. Then room temperature. Long enough for the old clock on the wall to tick through midnight and into the hollow hours where grief lives. My wife had spent 18 months fighting alone. Protecting me. Protecting our land. Knowing our son had become a stranger. And she'd done it without ever letting me see the weight she carried. In the morning, I found the number, Agent Raymond Holt, FBI Charlottesville Field Office. He answered on the second ring. Mr. Dawson, I've been waiting for this call. His voice was steady. Serious. Your wife was one of the bravest people I've ever worked with. I need you to know that I found everything. The drive. The notebook. Herr Lehrer. A Pause? Then you know what we're dealing with. I'd like to meet. Today. If possible. There's a diner outside of Staunton. Off Route 250. 2 o'clock. I'll be there. Mr. Dawson. Don't tell anyone where you're going. No one. I showered, dressed, and drove the hour and a half to Staunton. The diner was small, half empty. The kind of place truckers stop at and forget. Holt was already there. Late 40s. Close-cropped hair. Dark suit. No tie. He stood when I approached and shook my hand with both of his. I'm sorry about Ellen. Truly. We sat in a booth in the back corner. He ordered coffee. I ordered nothing. Your wife came to us in June, 18 months before she passed. She discovered the operation on her own, and had already gathered preliminary evidence. We asked her to continue documenting while we built the federal case. She agreed. You used her. He didn't flinch. She volunteered. I tried to talk her out of it twice. She refused. She said, "That's my home and my family. If I don't fight for them, who will?" My throat closed. Holt continued. The operation is run by a man named Carlos Navarro. He manages distribution networks along the I-81 corridor. Your son Derek was recruited through his gambling debts. They gave him an ultimatum. Vanessa facilitated the logistics. She has a business degree. She ran the numbers. And Russell Mackey. Chief Deputy Mackey has been taking payments for 2 years. He buried a noise complaint from your neighbor. He altered the coroner's report on Ellen's death. The original autopsy showed signs consistent with poisoning. Mackey had it changed to cardiac arrest. Poisoning. The word sat between us like something alive and terrible. We believe Vanessa administered it. She brought Ellen a glass of iced tea that afternoon. She visited the house around 3 o'clock. Ellen was found at 4:15. Vanessa, who had hugged me at the funeral, who had brought casseroles for a week afterward, who had sat in my kitchen and held my hand and said, she went peacefully. Walter, that's a blessing. Why didn't you arrest them then? We needed the full network. Navarro, his suppliers, the distribution chain. Ellen understood that she wanted the whole thing dismantled. Not just her son. She wanted it done right. And it cost her everything. Holt looked down at his coffee. Yes, it did. He pulled out a folder. Inside were photographs. The barn cellar. Boxes stacked floor to ceiling. A map of the distribution network stretching from Southwest Virginia to Baltimore. Philadelphia. Newark. Dollar amounts that made me dizzy. Names. Dates. Location. Everything Ellen had gathered. Cross-referenced with the FBI's own intelligence. We're ready to move. But we need your help. What kind of help? Derek and Vanessa are coming to your house this weekend to pressure you about selling. We know because we've been monitoring their communications. We need you to let them come. Act normal. Give us 48 hours. And we'll have teams in position. You want me to sit across from the people who killed my wife and pretend I don't know? I know what I'm asking. I looked at the photograph of Ellen's evidence, her handwriting on the labels, her careful, methodical documentation, everything organized, everything thought through. She'd been a nurse. She knew how to chart, how to observe, how to document symptoms and causes. She'd applied those same skills to building a criminal case against her own son. 48 hours. I said, "Thank you. Mr. Dawson, don't thank me. Just make sure they pay for what they did to her." The next 2 days were the longest of my life. I went through the motions, fed the chickens, checked the fence line, sat on the porch, and watched the sunset the way Ellen told me to. I could feel the FBI out there, invisible, positioned in the tree lines and along the back roads. Holt had told me 12 agents, 2 surveillance teams, a tactical unit on standby. For Ellen, they were bringing everything. Saturday evening, 6 o'clock. Headlights on the gravel road. Derek's Range Rover came first. Then a black sedan I didn't recognize. Then, 10 minutes later, Chief Deputy Mackey's unmarked cruiser. We're in position. Mr. Dawson. Holt's voice in my earpiece was calm. Stay steady. We've got you. I opened the front door. Derek came in first. Vanessa behind him. She was carrying a bottle of wine and wearing that perfect smile. Hi. Dad. His cologne was expensive. His hands were cold. Brought your favorite? Vanessa said, setting the wine on the counter. That Merlot from the vineyard in Charlottesville. I didn't touch it. Mackey arrived 5 minutes later. Big man. Red face. The kind of easy confidence that comes from knowing you're untouchable. He shook my hand like we were old friends. Walter. Good to see you. Been a while. Russell. Behind him. 2 men I didn't recognize. Hard faces. Professional. Navarro's people. They didn't introduce themselves. They didn't need to. We gathered in the living room, the same room where Ellen and I had watched our son take his first steps, where we'd celebrated Christmases and birthdays and anniversaries, where Ellen had read her novels in the corner chair every evening for 40 years. Dad. Derek sat forward, elbows on his knees. We need to talk seriously. The Hartfield offer is real. 1.8 million, but it expires next week. If you don't take it, I know about the barn. I said. The room went still. I know about the cellar. I know about the boxes. I know about Navarro and the fentanyl. I know about the money and the gambling debts and the deal you made. And I know what you did to your mother. Derek's face drained of color. Vanessa's hand flew to her mouth. Mackey stood up slowly, his hand drifting toward his hip. Careful. Walter, Mackey said. You're confused. Grieving. Saying things you don't mean. Am I? Or am I just repeating what Ellen documented for 18 months? Every shipment, every transaction, every late-night delivery. She photographed it all. Russell. She recorded conversations. She tracked the money. And she gave everything to the FBI. Silence. Then Vanessa spoke, her voice icy, controlled. He's bluffing. Vanessa, I said, looking directly at her. You brought my wife iced tea on October 17th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She was dead by 4:15. The original autopsy showed poisoning. Mackey had it changed. Vanessa went white. Not the white of embarrassment. The white of someone who realizes the walls are closing in and there's nowhere to run. Derek stood up. Dad. Stop. You don't understand what. Sit down. My voice came out harder than I intended. 40 years of holding it together. 40 years of being patient. Being steady. Being the rock that everybody else leaned on. I was done. Your mother spent a year and a half building a case against you. Against her own son. Do you know what that cost her? Do you have any idea what it takes to watch your child become a criminal and still find the strength to do the right thing? Derek's lip trembled. For just a second. I saw the boy. The one who used to climb into our bed during thunderstorms. The one who cried when his dog died and asked me, Dad, does it ever stop hurting? I didn't want anyone to get hurt. He said, his voice cracking. The debts. They were going to kill me. Navarro's people don't negotiate. They gave me one option. I took it. And when your mother found out, he covered his face with his hand. Vanessa answered for him. Cold. Practical. The way she always was. She was going to destroy everything. The case she built would have put us away for decades. We had no choice. You had every choice. I said, You chose to poison a 61-year-old woman who never hurt anyone in her entire life. A woman who spent 31 years taking care of sick people. Who made soup for every neighbor who got the flu. Who sat up with you? Vanessa. When you had that miscarriage and held you while you cried for 3 days straight. That's who you killed. Vanessa's mask cracked. Something human flickered behind her eyes. Then it was gone. One of Navarro's men stood up. This has gone far enough. We need to clean this up. Now. Mackie drew his weapon. Everybody calm down. Walter. Where's the evidence? Already with the FBI. Has been for days. He's lying. Vanessa hissed. Am I? The lights went out. Every light in the house. The porch lights. The barn lights. All at once. Total darkness. Then the doors exploded inward. FBI. Hands up, federal agents. Nobody move. Flashlight beams cut through the black like lightning. Agents poured in from every entrance. Weapons drawn. Voices commanding. The tactical precision was overwhelming. 14 agents in body armor flooding a living room in rural Virginia. Navarro's men went face down on the hardwood floor. Hands wrenched behind their backs. Mackie tried to raise his weapon. An agent half his age disarmed him in 2 seconds and put him on the ground so hard the floorboards shook. Vanessa didn't resist. She placed her hands on top of her head and knelt, her face blank. Calculated. Already planning her legal defense. Derek. He bolted toward the back door, knocking over Ellen's corner chair, the one where she'd read every evening. An agent caught him in the hallway. He went down hard, crying, shouting, Dad, Dad, I'm sorry, please. I stood in the middle of it all, surrounded by chaos, and felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not anger, just emptiness where my family used to be. Holt appeared beside me, hand on my shoulder. You okay? Walter, no, I said, but I will be. They processed them one by one. Navarro's men first, then Mackie, cursing under his breath. His badge stripped away. Then Vanessa. Silent, composed, terrifying in her calm. Derek was last. They stood him up, hands cuffed behind his back, his face streaked with tears and snot and the remnants of whatever mask he'd been wearing for the past 3 years. He looked at me. I'm sorry. Dad, I'm so sorry. I didn't respond. I couldn't. They led him out the front door and into the night. Blue and red lights painted the house, the yard, the trees, the barn where Ellen had photographed evidence alone in the dark, the garden where she'd grown sunflowers every summer. I watched the vehicles pull away until the last taillight disappeared down the gravel road. The night swallowed them. Silence returned. I walked back inside. The living room was destroyed. Furniture overturned. A lamp shattered. Boot prints on the hardwood. Ellen's chair lay on its side in the hallway where Derek had knocked it over. I picked it up, set it back in the corner, straightened the cushion. Then I sat down in it, and I cried. 4 months later, the trials were finished. Derek Dawson, 22 years. Federal prison. No parole eligibility for 15. Vanessa Dawson. Life sentence. First-degree murder of Ellen Dawson, plus conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, plus 12 additional federal charges. Chief Deputy Russell Mackie, 18 years. Corruption, obstruction of justice, accessory, after the fact to murder, falsifying official documents. Carlos Navarro, arrested in a coordinated raid across 3 states. 47 counts. His network dismantled from Virginia to New Jersey. 14 other arrests. The entire pipeline shut down. Justice. It came cold and slow, and it didn't bring Ellen back. But it was justice. A month after the sentencing, I drove to Washington, D.C. Bernard Chen's law office was on K Street, 4th floor. Windows overlooking the Capitol Dome. Mr. Dawson. He stood and shook my hand. Tall man. Early 60s. Kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Your wife was extraordinary. Everyone keeps telling me that, because it's true. He sat down and opened a folder. Ellen established a trust 18 months before her death. She funded it gradually. Cash withdrawals from your joint savings. Marked as household expenses. The missing money. I noticed it but never asked. The trust contains $287. Ling ling ling. Designated for the maintenance and preservation of the Dawson family property. With you as sole beneficiary and trustee. She also left a secondary provision funding veteran support programs in Ridgewood. He slid an envelope across the desk. She asked me to give you this when everything was over. I opened it right there. My hands shook. They always shook now. Walter, if Bernard is giving you this letter, it means the case is finished, and justice has been served. I know the cost was terrible. I know you're hurting. I know you're angry with me for keeping secrets. But I need you to understand, I kept you in the dark because I kept you alive. These people don't hesitate. If you had known, you would have confronted Derek. You would have gone to Mackie, and they would have killed you too. I chose to carry this alone so you wouldn't have to. That was my decision. My burden. My love letter to you. Written in silence and sacrifice. Don't let the farm go. It's ours. 3 generations of Dawsons have lived on that land. And a 4th will someday. I believe that. Derek made terrible choices. But people can change. Not today. Not soon. But someday. In the meantime, live. Plant the garden in spring. Fix that fence you've been ignoring for 2 years. Sit on the porch at sunset. Feed the birds at the pond. Volunteer at the Veterans Center. Be the man I fell in love with. The one who stepped on my feet at the 4th of July dance and apologized 11 times. I love you. Walter Dawson. I have loved you every single day since I was 19. And wherever I am now, I still do. Your Ellen. I folded the letter carefully. Put it in my jacket pocket. Close to my chest. Bernard handed me a tissue without a word. Spring came to Ridgewood the way it always does. Slowly, then all at once. I stood on the porch this morning, coffee in hand, watching the mist lift off the pond. The garden was turned over and ready for planting. Ellen's sunflower seeds were in a jar on the kitchen counter. Waiting, the old tobacco barn was sealed. The FBI had cleared out the cellar and the county had condemned the structure. I'd have it torn down by summer. Something new would go there. Maybe a greenhouse. Ellen would have liked that. A young couple, James and Sarah Mitchell, helped me run the property now. Organic vegetables, a small orchard, free-range chickens. The farm was producing again, making money for the first time in years. Ellen's trust covered the rest. I volunteered at the Ridgewood Veterans Center 3 mornings a week. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays. Mostly just listening. Old soldiers don't need advice. They need someone who understands silence. My neighbor Norman came by every Sunday. We'd sit on the porch, drink coffee, and not say much. It was enough. He visited Derek Onge, prison in West Virginia. He looked different, thinner, older. The suit was gone, replaced by khaki. The smooth expression was gone too, replaced by something I hadn't seen in years. Honesty. I'm in a program, he said through the glass. 12 steps. Therapy. I'm trying. Dad. I know. Can you ever forgive me? I looked at my son, 35 years old. My blood, Ellen's blood. The boy who used to fall asleep on my chest while I watched baseball. The man who helped kill his own mother. I don't know. I said, not today. But I'm not giving up on you. Your mother wouldn't want that." He broke down, pressed his forehead against the glass. I put my hand up on my side. We stayed like that for a long time. This morning, I walked out to the pond, Ellen's favorite spot. There's a bench there now. One I built this winter from oak that fell during a storm. A small plaque. For Ellen, who fought in silence, so others could live in peace. The birds were there, the way they always are. Cardinals, blue jays, a pair of doves that came back every spring. I scattered seed the way she used to, handfuls tossed across the water's edge. The sun was warm on my face. I did it. "Ellen," I said, "got justice for you. The farm's safe. I'm still here." Wind moved across the water, rippling the surface, carrying the smell of earth and new grass and the faintest trace of something sweet, like sunflowers in July, like her perfume, like memory. "You were right," I said. "Life goes on, and I'm going to live it. For both of us." I sat on that bench until the sun climbed high and the mist burned off and the morning turned golden. At 63, I'd learned something Ellen had known all along. Strength isn't about never breaking. It's about what you choose to do after you've been shattered. She chose to fight, quietly, alone, with more courage than I've ever seen in any soldier I served beside. And standing here on the land, she died, protecting. I finally understood the full weight of her love, looking back on everything. I realized how blind I was. I trusted the wrong people. I missed the warning signs. I let grief make me passive when I should have been paying attention. That's my true story. Not the kind you hear around a fireplace. This is real. This is raw. The kind of story that leaves scars but teaches truth. Let me tell you what I learned, so you don't end up like me. First, trust your instincts. When something feels wrong, it probably is. I noticed the missing money. I noticed Derek's expensive lifestyle that didn't match his income. I noticed Vanessa's cold eyes at the funeral. But I explained it all away because the truth was too painful to consider. Don't make my mistake. Second, protect what matters while you still can. Ellen died, fighting for our home and our legacy. She saw the danger I refused to see. Don't wait until it's too late to guard the things and the people you love. Third, lean on God. In my darkest hours, when I was sitting in that kitchen at midnight with my dead wife's letter in my hands and my son's betrayal in my heart, faith carried me through. The Lord works in ways we don't always understand. He sent that stranger in the barbershop when I needed a wake-up call. He sent Agent Holt when I needed protection. He gave me strength when I thought I'd break apart completely. And here's the final lesson, the one Ellen taught me from beyond the grave. Love isn't always loud. Sometimes the deepest love is the quietest. The kind that carries impossible burdens in silence. The kind that sacrifices everything and asks for nothing in return. So I ask you, what would you have done differently? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this true story touched your heart, please hit subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your support means the world to this old man. God bless you.